Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, October 2nd, and once again, I'm filling in for Sam as he enjoys the turquoise waters of Seychelles. Tonight, Montreal wins out their last home game of the regular season. We are joined by guests from new supporters group, Le Collectif Impact Montreal. The Canadian men's national team gets a harsh reality check against Uruguay, and the women's national team releases its squad for the upcoming friendlies. All that and more on this episode, number 102 of The Ball is Round. And I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Hady Raphael. How are you doing on this fine evening, Hady?
I'm fine. Sorry, during your introduction, I think Nadim was screaming in the back. So it's my son. Sorry, guys, but
we love him.
There's no way for me to shut him up. So I'm fine. I'm fine. Very happy to be here once again. 102 episodes. It's crazy. I still can't believe it.
I know. Join the club. And nonetheless, we are enjoying a run of, I think, positive episodes lately, thanks to the form of the teams that we cover. So really exciting. Yeah. So just a heads up, I guess, for anyone tuning in, our guests, I believe, are going to be joining us around 7:30, right, Hady?
Yeah, around 7:30 exactly.
Okay, cool. So let's jump right in and take a look at last night's match between CF Montreal and DC United. So last night, Montreal was going into their last home match of regular season play. And, we already know that there's going to be at least one more match that's going to get played at Stade Saputo because Montreal is going to be hosting at least one playoff game, hopefully more. And Hady, last week you and I had quite a spirited discussion about whether Montreal should try to win this match or rotate. And yes, I would say, Robbie, that yes, Nadim and Hady, I think we know where he gets it from.
Thanks, Robbie. Thanks. You're giving a lot of munitions to Eve.
Yeah,
now.
It's too easy. So nonetheless, Hady, you and I disagreed a lot last week as to how Montreal should approach the match, but we both definitely agreed that Montreal should rest some of those players who did travel a lot and who played a lot during the international break. So Wilfried Nancy seemed to be on the same page as we were, because last night we saw a very different starting 11 compared to the usual. So team we saw last night was James Pantemis. Lassi Lapalainen returned from injury to start the match at left wing back. Waterman was playing the left center back position. Rudy Camacho in the middle. Gabriela Corbo on the right of that three-man center back setup. ZBG was on the right wing. Victor Wanyama wore the captain's band, and he was partnered by Mathieu Choignard. Ismail Kone filled in for Georgi Mihailovic, who was serving his yellow card suspension. And Joaquin Torres and Mason Toy paired up at the top of the pitch. What did you make of it, Hady? I think that's pretty close to kind of what we had discussed, eh?
Exactly. That's exactly what we wanted to see. We wanted to see rotation, the players involved in the international window rested, and that's exactly what happened. Now, of course, Joel Waterman was on the pitch, yes,
but he didn't play.
He didn't play. So it's okay. I think it was the right starting 11 in my opinion, and we still managed to win. So you know what? Still with our, I'm not going to say B team because it's not really our B team, or A+ team or A- team, if you want to, in a way. We still managed to win, and that's exactly what we needed. That's, I think, puts a lot of confidence. Honestly, proves that he has a lot of confidence in his players and in his whole group, and that's exactly what you want before the beginning of a playoff run, right? Because you need everybody involved. You don't know what's going to happen. Those games are going to be very tough, mentally, physically, and everything. So you're going to need your group to be completely involved. and playing with the group all together, giving minutes, and we're going to talk about it, to players that haven't seen a lot of minutes is very important for the dressing room, for the morale and everything. So yeah, no, good choice and good decisions, in my opinion, from Wilfried Nancy.
Cool. So you wouldn't have made any other changes in this selection? That's who you would have put out, Coach Hady?
Yeah, honestly, yes. I don't. Of course, there are some players that I'm not really a fan of, but you know, you have to use all the players that you're using, and no, I like it. No, I wouldn't change anything. Would you have changed anything?
I mean, I'm not 100% sure about we had a big discussion, I know, last week about who we would start up top, because there's Kai Kamara, who's definitely in good form. There's Mason Toy, who desperately needs to find form. So there is that debate as to whether you want to keep your striker in good form, who is in good form going into the season or into the postseason, but then you also want to try and hopefully get your younger player there who really needs to get some confidence put back in him, for sure. So I think maybe that's the only spot where I'd have some debate, but otherwise totally agree.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising that we haven't seen Matko in the starting 11. That's the only thing that a bit surprised me, but
but then
not more than that.
Yeah, maybe. And that's a good point as well. But obviously, Ismail Kone had a really, really good showing, I think, with Canada in the 2 games. And we're going to talk about his second match a little bit later. So I think there is a certain degree of confidence maybe that you wanted to ride with that, if you were Wilfried Nancy, because, obviously he drew a lot of attention in those 2 friendly matches.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so obviously DC United, with the loss last night, they have clinched their 4th wooden spoon of all time. And so they came to Montreal really with not much to show for their season. And it was kind of obvious from the offing that Montreal had the upper hand overall as far as possession went. But Montreal didn't necessarily do a whole lot with their possession in order to convert to shots on target. Early in the match, Lassie nearly marked his return with a goal as he received a pass over the top of the defense from Joaquin Torres. But despite being alone in front of the keeper, Lassie shot over the net. And I inadvertently thought this one was in from way down my other end of the stadium and celebrated a little prematurely, alas.
Yeah, optics, right? Sometimes, when you're at the stadium, you're not really sure. But even it's pretty tough to see when you're sitting on the wrong side of the pitch, right? So, yeah. But I just wanted to add that you said it's the 4th wooden spoon for DC United. For people that really don't know and haven't been following MLS for a long time, DC United is the 2nd most titled franchise in MLS history. So the first one is the LA Galaxy, and DC United is the 2nd one. So it's a very, very big club, like historically, for the MLS. So again, seeing them at the bottom of the table, they did spend a bit of money now to get Christian Benteke and Morrison from ex-Manchester United player, and a lot of money was spent to get that team, and they're really, really far from expectations. So let's see what's going to happen with them next year. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely really curious to see, because and I would imagine that Wayne Rooney doesn't come cheap as a coach either, because he does have the kind of the brand that follows him, even if he doesn't have a ton of experience at the managerial level yet. But definitely. And they are the most titled, but I believe they are also tied with San Diego for the most wooden spoons. So it's a double-edged sword being a historic franchise. So anyway, Montreal did notch their first shot on target in the 20th minute when Joaquin Torres took one of the shots that he's well known for, which is, from the top of the box, a powerful shot going high, but it was well saved by David Ochoa, the DC United keeper. The other end of the goal, or the other end of the pitch, rather, James Pantemis was called into action in the 35th minute, and he made himself big to deny Miguel Berry. That resulted in a corner kick, and the corner kick led to Christian Benteke, who we just spoke about, getting a header, which thankfully Gabriela Corbo was super well positioned to make a clearance off the line. What did you think of Gabriela Corbo's match last night? I realized I didn't put it anywhere in the program, but I was thinking about it while we were building up, so I'm just going to throw it in here.
We talked about Corbo, I think, a couple of episodes ago, if I remember correctly. For me, he has been very decent. When he was called upon. Every time he was here, he's the first one to be called upon in case there's a suspension or there's an injury or whatever. And every time he has a proper game and nothing, too. He's not amazing or anything, but it's a really proper game, a clean game. You're not going to see him, get assists or get goals or do those spectacular tackles or whatever. But he's very, very good, and he's steady. He's good.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's something that you need almost. You don't necessarily need a ton of flair because there's a lot of risk that comes with that. As a defender, and if you want somebody predictable who can just make a clean tackle, win the ball on their feet, not risk giving up fouls and stuff, then to me that in and of itself is a plus. Not to be too spectacular as a defender.
Yeah, but you know what? It's nice that you asked me that question now because I wanted to show you a graph, and it's very interesting. It's the passes that CF Montreal made. Okay, so of course, obviously being a possession team, you see a lot of passes between the center backs, and that's really interesting. But what I really find interesting in that graph is the forward passes attempted. So between the three defenders, in the whole team, the player that has attempted the most forward passes is Gabriela Corbo with 17 forward passes. Second one is Joaquin Torres and Joel Waterman with 11. So 6 more forward passes than the others. And that shows and that proves how much, Corbo has a different game than the others, other center backs. And that's what's really interesting. Now, of course, it does help that ZBG plays a very, very high and tries to overlap a lot of time and to use the whole space on the wing. So of course it gives more options for Gabriel Corbo to give those forward passes. But that's interesting. That's something that's a different thing that Wilfried Nancy can add in the back line whenever he wants. That option of having a Gabriel Corbo that really attempts those forward passes, and I think that's very interesting.
No, I completely agree. And, it's going to be interesting because obviously he's on loan this season. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he returns next season back on loan or even possibly as a permanent signing because it is a different profile from the other central defenders. And we're pretty confident we're going to lose at least one central defender probably in the off season.
Yeah, for sure. And I heard that there was a scout from Bologna that was here. So a lot of talk saying maybe he's looking at Gabriela Corbo to see if he could, feature in the Bologna team next year. So we'll see.
Totally possible. Right? So possibly. Totally possible. Yeah, or else they're coming in to swipe other players. I hope not.
If we get our money, I don't care, man. Yeah. Just pay us. That's all we want.
There we go. Fair enough. So anyway, back to the match. So yes, following Gabriela Corbo's clearance off the line, Montreal finally did show some attacking flair in the 41st minute of play. As you mentioned, Hady ZBG loves a run down the right-hand side of that pitch, and sure enough, he did it once again. He received the ball from Torres, who was quite involved, evidently. And ZBG delivered one of those low crosses right along kind of the 6-yard line horizontally. And those low crosses, they're so dangerous, right? Because all it takes is one contact, whether it's a voluntary contact or not, or regardless of what your intention is, it's probably going to wind up in the back of the net. And that was indeed, unfortunately, the case for Donovan Pines, the DC United defender. He was the player who happened to make contact with the ball, and that put Montreal ahead thanks to his own goal. We saw Mason Toye try to make contact with the ball while it was on its way into the net. And then replay, initially I think there was a little bit of debate, but on the replay, it was pretty clear he didn't touch the ball. Are we concerned about this because it is so important that he find some confidence going into the postseason, or did you think this was maybe one of his better matches nonetheless?
I think he didn't have a lot of bad games. Like I think in the last 3-4 games he played, he was pretty good. It's just he doesn't have like the luck, and we know
He
that
really doesn't.
Yeah, we know that the strikers are very streaky, right? So he's not in that mindset and in that period of time where he is scoring. I'm not really concerned because he is working well. He is creating chances, and we had Wilfried Nancy here a couple of weeks ago saying exactly the same thing, saying that I like what he's doing, and the fact that the coach is happy, and we look at his game and we're kind of happy too, even if he's not scoring. So I think it's just gonna come one day. So no, I'm pretty okay with how Mason Toy played during that game against DC United. But I want to add one thing about ZBG. Okay. I've been one that criticized him a lot for the past couple of years, saying that his final touch, his final action, final pass, his shooting, his final decision on a play is always a bit messy. But I don't know why, but in the last few games, he's been a lot better, making very good decisions, in his last action. And that's something I think he improved on, or maybe he learned from maybe Alistair Johnston, hopefully. That's interesting because that cross, you talked about that cross, Eve, saying that it's dangerous to have a low cross, in the box, but you need to find that sweet spot because if you cross it too near the goalkeeper, he's just going to grab it. Yeah. And if it's too much, in the back, then, unfortunately,
well, it's just going to go all the way through the 18-yard box.
Exactly. So he's finding that sweet spot in his crosses, even in his shots and everything. So, and I think that's very, very interesting. So hopefully we'll see more of ZBG, doing that.
Well, yeah. No, for sure. And, he was like a guaranteed starter last season. And obviously this season, Alistair Johnston came in and supplanted him. And there were times where we said, oh my gosh, like, where is ZBG? And, we talked about the proverbial doghouse and so on and so forth. But like, really, though, most matches that he's been given time, he's contributed in some way, to Montreal's success. So we have to give credit where it's due, and maybe that also comes down to Wilfried Nancy as well, because he did make the choice to bench ZBG, and maybe ZBG did have a learning experience, but also then to credit to ZBG for when he gets his minutes to really take advantage and contribute and notch goals and assists. So it's it's winning all around. So nonetheless, Montreal went into the first half with a most enjoyable 1-0 lead. Coach Hady, what would have been your talk at halftime to the players?
Encouragement, I think, because again, it's not the A team, it's not the best team on the pitch, so you want to give them a bit more confidence. I would have, asked them to continue on doing what they're doing and maybe improve a bit. I would maybe talk with a few key players, asking them a bit more. I wanted to see more from Torres. I think he didn't do enough in that first half. I would want a bit more from Victor Wanyama too. I think he could have done a bit more also to create chances or whatever, even if it's not his role. But in this rotated squad, in rotated 11, I think that Victor Wanyama should have been the one that gives that extra push. But altogether in the dressing room, no, I would have just sent words of encouragement and just maybe had a few discussions on the side with some key players.
Yeah, fair enough. Like overall, it did seem that Montreal, especially, once they went ahead, they were relatively in control of the match. Like it wasn't even a match with a lot of fouls and stuff like that until the very end, which we'll get to. But so, yeah, no, I agree with you overall. Wow. So I know it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I should go to the casino today.
Well, I'm afraid I don't have any lottery numbers to give you. So anyway, okay, so Montreal came out in the second half, and once again, they were dominating possession. They had the cleaner passing of the two teams, and it was obvious that DC's season had been over for some time, and Montreal did still have some stuff to play for, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later as well. However, Montreal's finishing was definitely not up to par. We saw Mathieu Chouanière with a great chance that went just wide of net in the second half. Kai Kamara also joined as a substitute, and he shot well over the net, which is something that I think we would have seen him put away on most nights. And so it was a little bit frustrating to see them not be as clinical, particularly knowing that we're coming into the postseason with those do or die matches where if you don't take your chance, the other team might punish you in a permanent fashion. So what were you thinking when you were watching the match and you were watching these players miss, chance upon chance in the second half? Did you have any worries, any thoughts, any frustration?
Yeah, but you know what? Was I worried? We talked about it last week, right?
Yeah.
For me, a loss.
It drives me nuts.
Yeah, a loss wouldn't have made a difference. I don't think that game was very important. Mm-hmm. I really wanted you always want to win all games for sure, but like a win wasn't urgent, wasn't needed. Especially because we're qualified, we're second place for sure. Hopefully more, and we'll talk about it later. But yeah, no, I wasn't worried for the team altogether. But I was like, okay, yeah, it doesn't bode well, right? It doesn't look very, very, very exciting. I would have wanted to see a CF Montreal win by 3-4 goals because they were able to do that, and unfortunately missed chances here.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully, those players, they have short memories because that's what you got to have when you're a pro athlete. Yeah. Nonetheless, though, in the 79th minute, Montreal was given yet again another golden chance to increase their lead because the referee, Rami Toucan, was called to the video monitor after Ismail Kone went down in the DC United 18-yard box. The reason he went down was because he had been pushed from behind by Donovan Pines. And the defender's day was going to go from bad to worse because he was subsequently sent off following the review, and Montreal was awarded a penalty. So watching this at the stadium for sure, and a bit, I guess, I didn't see it quite as intense. I definitely saw it at the stadium. Anyway, Torres seemed very determined to take that penalty shot. Like as soon as the referee was coming back from VAR and began making his gestures, he had the ball in his hand. He was ready. So Joaquin Torres stepped up, took his shot. I think it's pretty obvious. Like to me, his body language telegraphed where he was going to shoot, and David Ochoa made the save. So this is something I wanted to ask you about because it seems like really ever since, say, the second half of last season, we've seen some strange penalty situations for Montreal. We've seen players kind of having a lot of discussion about who's going to take the kick. We've seen kicks retaken and missed. And, there seems to just be a lot of confusion around the penalties. Do you think that Nancy needs to do something to address this? Or do you think this is a natural part? To me, it's not normal.
I didn't see any controversy, yesterday.
No, I didn't see any controversy either. But as well, like, why was it Torres to take the shot?
Maybe because it was a rotated squad. Nancy addressed it before, saying, what, in case there's a penalty, because there's not our usual players, you're the one that's taking the penalty. That's possible. I'm not really sure, but I don't think it's a problem. I think that usually in a squad that really, and a lot of players are saying that they love each other, that the brotherhood, that they talk with each other, they sing the same song, the Sweet Caroline and stuff. Like the ambiance in the dressing room is pretty good. So I think that at one point, yes, you're gonna have some players really want to take the penalty shot, but at one point someone is gonna be okay, and they're gonna find that leader that will take that penalty shot. So no, I don't think that Nancy needs to address this unless there are, major problems. So no, I don't really think so. I think that Torres, was the one that did it because he really needs to gain confidence. And I think that it's someone that lacks confidence right now. Hasn't had a lot of good games recently. Hasn't had a lot of playing time recently. So I think he really needed that. But in front of you, you have David Ochoa. That's, I think, the worst keeper to shoot a penalty on in MLS. It's as simple as that. The guy loves to trash talk. Loves it. And you saw it just before the penalty was shot. He was playing with the mind of Joaquin Torres, and you know what? He won.
Yeah. No, completely agree. No, completely agree. To me, like, even from the stadium where I was, I felt like I knew where Torres was going to shoot at, and that's not normally how I feel. So I felt like it was probably a lot in his head, whether that's the lack of confidence or whether it was the mind games of David Ochoa.
And he didn't shoot it in the side net, right?
No.
So his shot was, and even the height of the shot was exactly where the keeper wants it, right? So usually it has to be on the ground or in the top of the net, right? So he didn't find that sweet spot for the penalty, and of course Ochoa played with his mind, and it's just he's so good at that. David Ochoa, he's so good just at that. Playing with the mind of the penalty shooter, and it worked.
Yeah, fair enough. So anyway, following the penalty miss, DC United actually thought that they had tied the match because they won a free kick, which was taken. And I'm not going to lie, the line looked really disorganized to me, so I still will never know which player exactly was offside. I watched the replay about 8 times and still didn't figure it out. But nonetheless, DC did think that they had scored, but immediately after the ball was in the net, the official's flag was up to indicate the offside. Knowing that Montreal, had so many chances, notably the penalty a few minutes before, to increase their lead, did you think that Montreal got lucky in this instance, or it was, really, or did you think they were organized enough on that free kick? Because to me, their defensive line looked really all over the place.
Yeah, they were a bit messy. I agree. Lucky, yes, because that. I wouldn't be surprised if that goal was conceded. Now, of course, it was offside, 100% offside, a passive offside from I don't know who was in the middle. The first one that took the shot that was blocked.
Okay.
I don't remember who it was. I think it was Miguel Barry, but I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if it was.
There were so many people there.
I don't know if he was on the pitch at that time even. So I don't remember who it was, but it's the one that really took the shot that was blocked, that was completely offside, a passive offside. So so it's an offside, but it's a bit worrying. It's a bit worrying that you see that at the end of the games. We know here in Montreal, we're always cared about the end of games. Even if this season has been better, it's always a wound that's left wide open in all CF Montreal fans. Right?
No, exactly. It's not just one good season of finishing games that I think is going to cure us of that fear. I think it's going to take a little longer. The PTSD runs deep when it comes to late game concessions. Anyway, in the final moments of the match, Christian Benteke was given a yellow card following a contact with Joel Waterman that sent him flying into the air. It was the last few seconds of the match, so Waterman did finish the match, but as soon as the final whistle blew, he dropped down, he laid down, and he was clearly super uncomfortable. The physios came out and his teammates, checked in on him and stuff, and he did manage to go down the tunnel like on his own 2 feet, but obviously was like limping a lot. I know, Hady, you weren't able to attend the post-match presser yesterday, unfortunately, but what kind of a blow would this be for us if Joel Waterman got injured last night?
It's the end of the world. I said it, for me, Joel Waterman's the MVP of the season, and I'm not going to change my mind. I know that a lot of people say Kyoto and say other. Yeah, of course, the others are pretty good, but Joel Waterman has been instrumental in that defense. And that's I think
Mm-hmm.
a very bad news if he is injured for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We need him for the playoffs. Now, also, I think that Christian Benteke, I hope that the MLS is going to review that action.
That was a pretty cynical challenge.
Exactly, because I think he should have been red carded. And
you think
I
it was
also
like
think
violent conduct?
Yeah, it is very violent. And I think that if MLS reviews this incident, hopefully they'll give him, a few games suspension for this year, but also the beginning of next year, because this is not how a professional football player has to, to play. This is not the way. This is not the way of playing football. Someone like with the magnitude of Christian Benteke should know more. He should know more. And you know what? I was very, very, very upset to see this kind of play at the end of the game.
Yeah, no, it was obviously a foregone conclusion by that point. There, it wasn't necessary. Certainly, it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
No, not at all. But it'll be interesting to see if it does get reviewed.
I don't think so.
No, I would be really surprised, honestly. And like some of the plays, some of the red cards that have been issued this season, like I'm almost not even scandalized by that contact, because some of what's gone on in MLS this season has been pretty shocking as far as the physical contact goes. So we'll see. But anyway, we'll see, obviously. So speaking of injuries, though, we did learn, and this was announced shortly before the match actually kicked off. It was announced on TV, so I didn't actually hear about it until I got home. But nonetheless, Romell Kyoto returned from international duty, and stop me if you've heard this song before, with an injury.
Yeah. I don't think it's worrying, in my opinion. No.
Because?
I think it's a small injury, and, Nasi didn't want to take a chance, because you don't really... Like, I think he could have played.
Okay.
But, playing would have meant maybe a risk of...
that would have been,
aggravating the injury. But I think he could have played. So, I don't know. I tried to get some information regarding the injury of Kyoto, but also of Waterman. And unfortunately, I didn't have any information for today. I should have information in the next couple of days. Okay. But yeah, no, I don't think that Kyoto is a worrying injury.
Okay, fair enough, because I saw that and I was like, oh God, no, not again. Because having Romell Kyoto, in good health all season, it's been such a difference maker for this Montreal squad, particularly, given how much they've needed to score a lot of goals in some of their matches. So to lose him now, I think, along with Waterman, that would just be... because I guess we would have one playoff match. And that's, no slight to anyone who would fill in for them. It's just a matter of they are very, very important players on this team. But anyway, we will certainly keep our eyes out for news of those respective injuries. Anything else to talk about on this match, Hady, before we move on? No, it was it was not a super eventful match, as things go.
Yeah, I just remembered. So happy for Rida Zouhir.
Yes, he returned.
So happy for Rida Zouhir. Yeah, I know that he had a very tough season. I heard a bit of, unfortunately, things that happened off the field that aren't, unfortunately, playing in his favor or played in his favor. But I think he's still a very good player, and he can be a very good player for CF Montreal in the future. Knowing the fact that CF Montreal could lose players in the off season, I think that Rida Zouhir could slot into that midfield as a rotation player pretty easily, given he's disciplined enough. I think he could feature in the midfield, in the rotation in the midfield at one point. So no, I was happy to see him. I think he did okay when he came in. So I think he played 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah,
so
it was about 10 minutes.
I think that was pretty good. So it shows that Nausea hasn't given up on him, and I think that's very important. A good confidence for the kid.
Yeah, and hopefully, obviously, he has learned from the experiences of being, left out of the selection for some time. Alrighty, so let's move on to preview the final match period of the regular season, which will be versus Inter Miami in Miami. So this is going to obviously take place on Decision Day, and Decision Day, isn't super important for Montreal because Montreal booked their ticket to the playoff a few weeks ago. But we still don't know who Montreal is going to be hosting because there are 5 teams fighting for 3 playoff spots. And Montreal theoretically could possibly, if all of the stars align, find themselves in first place in the East because there was a very shocking result last night where Charlotte beat Philadelphia Union 4-0. Which
crushed the Union.
I don't think anyone saw that coming. I feel bad for our friends at Duke by the River, but I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? I saw that scoreline. I was like,
crazy.
So, yeah. LAFC did clinch the supporter shields today, so that is definitely out of reach, and I think it was a long shot anyway. But honestly, just before we talk about the Miami match, do you think it would be better to finish first in the East? For me, that bye week, I don't know if that's an advantage or not.
No, I think it's a big advantage. Not just the bye week, but the fact that you'll be playing at home during the won't Eastern Conference games. I think that's very important. So you won't need to know. You won't need even logistically for the players, for the club and everything. They'll know it's always going to be in Montreal until the MLS Cup. In case LAFC is there, then it will be in Los Angeles. But if they're playing anybody else than LAFC, it would be also in Montreal. Do you imagine the MLS Cup in Montreal? I'm getting ahead of myself.
No,
but still,
my liver is not ready, Hady.
No, I think it's very important, and the bye week I think could be important also for the injuries. The players have played a lot this year. Really a lot this year, traveled a lot. Don't forget that we have a lot of international players. We're not used to that. The international players have been going, on international duty everywhere across the globe. And I think I think that extra week could help a lot, in my opinion. But
okay. Because, there's something to be said, though, right? As far as, keeping your form. If you're going into your postseason hot and then you have to wait a week, and sit around they obviously won't be sitting around, they'd be training and such, but you have to watch the other teams play and kind of bite your nails about it a little bit. I'm not sure if that's an advantage, but nonetheless we will see what happens. Philadelphia will be playing against Toronto on the final day, so I'm kind of the opinion that would require some kind of yes, there we go. Robbie took the words out of my mouth. He says, I can't see Philadelphia losing at home against Toronto. The shock would probably kill me. We've seen what Toronto's capable of this season and not much. So anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard also to win that. We're going to preview, of course, the game of Inter Miami, but it's not going to be an easy task too. So yes, we're focusing on Toronto winning in Philadelphia, but also we have to focus, I think, first of all, Montreal. On us winning in Miami, and that's our in Fort Lauderdale for people that are very picky. So that's going to be a big task too.
Yeah, for sure. Because obviously, the last time that Montreal and Miami faced off against each other was when Miami visited Stade Saputo earlier this summer. And I think in that match, Montreal was really its own worst enemy. Both goals that were given up to Miami were really easy to avoid and should never have happened. And Miami is also coming into this match in really good form. They just won their last 3 matches in a row. Yeah. And Lord knows they have a ton of attacking talent in Gonzalo Higuain, Alejandro Pozuelo, Leonardo Campagna, among other players. Plus, they seem to have gotten their defense shored up a lot this season compared to their previous seasons. Yeah. But They are going to be playing a midweek match against their Florida rivals, Orlando. And obviously Miami's and Orlando as well, actually, both of them. They don't have their playoff position secured yet. So, that's going to, I think, be a super important match for both of those teams. And it could be that Miami is also still going into decision day, not with their playoff fate decided.
Yeah.
So, there could be an advantage where, Miami is playing midweek and it could end up being a really emotional match for them. So there's a lot going on in this match, even though, there's not as much going on for Montreal. But there is a lot going on that I think could make it a really interesting match. So Hady, we talked a lot about this, about the rotation and the need to win and the importance of winning last week as we prepared for the DC match. And I think you and I agree that it is, regardless of our difference of opinion on the DC match, I think you and I both agree that it is really important that Montreal tries to win this final match against Miami. Not because of first in the East or anything like that, but because of form.
Yeah, there's two things. First of all, I just want to rectify something. And Max Rokatansky, sorry if I'm butchering your name, said we only need a draw between Toronto and Philadelphia.
That's true.
Because we do have more wins than Philadelphia. We have 19 wins and Philadelphia has 18 wins. So if Philadelphia draw against Toronto and we win against Miami, we have the same amount of points. And yes, we become first. So that's a possibility too.
Wait. No, we're 2 points behind. My bad. I can't do math. I can't do math.
We're 2 points behind, so if they get a point,
I figured
3
it.
points, and
then
we
win. No, I was thinking, but if Montreal draws, that could also work. But no, 2 points and 1 point are not the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. So a bit more possibilities. So I don't know if Toronto can grab a draw in
surely they'll get a penalty.
And for sure. A couple of them, right? Because you need one for Benteke and one for Insigne, right? So maybe 2 penalties. But I think it's very important for form that Montreal wins that game. First of all, you need to make sure that you show the competition in case Miami is qualified for the playoffs. You show the competition that you're here, you mean business. And you're coming into those playoffs with a good form, and winning in Miami will prove that. We know that Miami has been pretty hot recently. You talked about it with the few players. They have some very good players in their squad. Someone that I really like is Jovan Jones, even if he's not. I don't think he's playing that much now, but still, they have very good players, and I think we need that win. We really need that win just to prove that it's not a fluke that we're here in the playoffs. We're in the standings, that we're here. I saw the whole controversy of one of the journalists, that of course Toronto journalists, saying that Montreal is not a good team. It's not a great team, but a good team and everything. So I don't think. I think that Montreal needs that win to maybe shut up the critics, to shut them up, because they're saying that we haven't won a lot of games against playoff teams, which I don't agree either. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a good test for Wilfried Nancy's team, that final game.
Yeah, and I really felt like Phil Neville did have kind of Montreal's number on a few occasions. The first time that they played against each other, not just with a low block. So anyway, it is going to be really interesting to see how it shakes out. But then that also brings us to the question as well, especially, knowing how important it is that, the players who are going to be starting that playoff match are fit and healthy and so on. So would you go into this starting your playoff starting 11 because you want them to have that hot form, or would you be more concerned and want to preserve them?
No, starting 11 for sure. Oh, okay. For sure, starting 11. No questions about it.
No question. Okay. Well, I don't know. You had lots of questions last week. That's why.
No. This time, like it's time, like the international players will be rested. They haven't played yesterday, and you need to bring that cohesion back. You need to give them a bit of fun before the real thing starts, right? So a bit of fun. Maybe if we're winning by 1 or 2 or 3 goals, or if we're losing by 1, 2 or 3 goals, maybe at the 60th minute, 55th minute, just sub them off. The players that are tired or they're carrying injuries, yes. But no, you need for cohesion, for form, for morale. You need that starting 11 at the beginning of that game. Do you agree or you disagree with me?
I mean, it's definitely a calculated risk that you have to take, right? Because I think certainly if there's a player who's carrying a knock, for example, like let's say that Romel Kyoto is, able to be on the bench next week, like he's fit enough to make the squad. I don't know if I would start him because, losing him would be terrible if he's coming back from injury. So like that's just one example. But like a guy like Samuel Piet, who as far as we know is perfectly fit and healthy, definitely I would start guys like him and Kamal Miller and Alistair Johnston and so on. So I think as long as physically speaking the player's feeling okay, then yeah, because playoffs, they did used to have a lot of midweek matches for playoffs, but now obviously it has moved to a more weekend-based format. So the players will have we don't know exactly what day. I've heard some rumors that it will be on the Sunday, October 16th, Montreal's home match.
I heard 17th, but I don't know. We'll see.
17th is a Monday. No?
17th is not a Sunday? I heard the Sunday. Oh, you're right. The 16th. I thought that 16th was Saturday. Yeah, I heard the Sunday.
So we're talking about the same day.
Yeah, same day.
Okay. Yeah, so so we've been hearing the same rumors, thankfully. So they will have a full week to rest up following that, since there isn't any play-in round or anything like that happening midweek for them. So yeah, as long as the player going into it is fit, I say start your best 11 or as close to it as you can, for the same reasons that you said, Hady. So like I said, there's a lot going on going into this match, more so for Miami than Montreal, but there could be some interesting pieces in play for Montreal. So let's play our favorite game, one of the many games that we always play. Montreal will win if, and Montreal will lose if.
Montreal will win. For me, it's a bit like playing against Columbus. You need to make sure to stop 2 players, and it's Pozuelo and Higuain, and that the link up that they have, the chemistry that they have together is very, very worrying, in my opinion. So if you're able to make sure that they don't link up together, I think you're going to be good. Montreal will lose. I'm going to be very. Yeah, I think Montreal will lose if Joel Waterman is missing. I think he's so instrumental.
Really? Because, I mean, theoretically, Kamal Miller would come back at the left, and then Gabriel Corbo, who did just a fine job the other night, he'd be there on the right. Really?
Yeah, I think he's very important, not only, as a player, on the pitch, but also he's vocal. He's here. He has a lot of confidence. He's very, very versatile. He can play on the right. And, sometimes, during the game, when Kamal Miller goes up, you see a lot of times, Joel Waterman, try to fill in for Rudy Camacho. Sometimes they switch. He goes on the left to help out or whatever, and I think that chemistry that those 3 have together is very important. I don't think he missed any games during this year. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to go check, but I think he played all games for Montreal.
Waterman?
If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
Did he have a yellow card suspension at some point?
Yeah, maybe he got 1 suspension. You're right.
Yeah,
he did. He did have a suspension. Yeah, so maybe he missed 1 game.
Yeah, but no, I know what you mean. Like all of the games that he could start or he could play, he played.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm looking at the stat right now, and he played. Yeah, he missed 3 games.
Oh,
4 games. No, 4 games. Okay, I thought it was less than that. 4 games. So Philadelphia at the beginning of the season on the 5th of March, Then he missed in Charlotte, that famous win,
Right.
on the 15th of May. Then he missed the loss against Kansas City. He was on the bench. And then on the 14th of August in Houston, he missed the game also. So
yeah, and I think, like I said, I think one of those was for yellow card suspension, but nonetheless, yeah. But they did win some of those matches without him, so we'll see. Of course, they lost that Sporting Kansas City match, which I will still never get over, and we'll probably be talking about 20 years from now. So anyway, you gave me your Montreal will lose if. What about your Montreal will win if?
I said if we're able to stop.
To contain,
Higuain,
right? Sorry. Yes, because you kind of went into your tangent,
right?
Yes, fair enough.
So what are yours?
I'm gonna say that Montreal will win if Miami are carrying something of a hangover from their midweek match, because I think that's going to weaken the opposition a lot, and Montreal, hopefully they'll be tuckered out and stuff. And I would say Montreal will lose if, kind of like you said, they aren't able to contain that duo, because Montreal got punished by the first time around, and just saw their really good goal that was scored by Higuain against Toronto earlier. So yeah, really hard to say.
Good. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, I think.
I agree. And are we ready to move on and welcome some guests?
Yes, we are. So let's welcome them right away. So I'm just gonna add our friends here to the stream. So let's start with Hady and Ed. Welcome to The Ball is Round, guys.
Hey guys, thanks for having us.
Thrilled to meet you. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine evening after a great win last night. Hopefully your voices are more intact than mine is.
Yeah, it's hurting a little bit today.
No, I hear you. I feel you. So thank you so much for joining us, and giving us a rundown on what Le Collectif Impact Montreal is all about. So we just have a few questions for you, as always, and certainly we will as well give you the opportunity to plug yourselves, social medias of yourselves or of the group.
Cool.
So awesome. So what is the mission of the Collectif Impact Montreal, or can I just call it the Collectif for brevity's sake?
Yeah, you could call it the Collectif. I think the mission is, well, first of all, our number one objective this season was to get the section back. Mm-hmm. So that was the first mission. Then after that, it's having a more unified voice throughout the years. I think that section 132 grew bigger than just one group. Mm-hmm. And at one point we felt like we needed to be represented as a collective and not just one group. So that's definitely the biggest mission. It's to show people that we're multiple groups in this section, and we're welcoming, and all we want is for it to grow.
Awesome.
Ed, you're on mute, so we can't hear you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know you're on mute.
Oh wait, now I think I can unmute him. Oh.
Okay, that's a lot better. We still can't hear you.
Oh.
No, we can't hear you at all. Yeah.
Oh no.
No, we can't hear you.
Okay.
No, we.
It's... Oh no. That's all happens to the best of us.
Yeah, it happens to everyone. Don't worry, man. Just take your time. And,
no worries.
No, we can't hear you at all, man.
If we can start to hear you, we'll let you know.
I can read it on your lips, but I can't hear you.
I have to get like the signs with the markers and just like rip them off one by one, like you're doing those emotional videos. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not making fun of you at all. Yeah.
Well, I could continue. I guess Ed, you could try to get back in.
Yep. If we hear you, we'll let you know.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, going back to the mission, I think it's really just to be back and support the team inside the stadium. So
Awesome.
That's very interesting. You talked about you wanted to be welcoming.
Yep.
You really wanted to be welcoming here at Stade Saputo, and that's something that a lot of people complained about. They didn't feel welcome to Section 132. How do we become a part of the Collectif now?
Ed, you want to try that one?
If you guys can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. How do we become a part of the Collectif? Well, first of all, show up to the games. That's one way to start knowing everybody in the Collectif and the people who brought back the section. Now, for sure, we have plans for the off season. We're eventually going to create memberships and ways to get people more involved. Come see us at our pre-matches. Stay tuned of everything that we're posting on social media, because that's our most efficient way so far since we came back to the stadium of communicating with everybody. Like we said, and we've been saying in the past few weeks, everybody's welcome, and as long as you bring up your voice, you're more than welcome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So glad we can hear you now. Yes. So, like you guys mentioned, the Collectif is made up of members of several supporter groups who were previously in Section 132 and as well, kind of 131 as well, off to the side. And as well, there are independent individuals who are kind of joining in as well, right? So how do you coordinate logistics as far as things like TIFO and just match day as far as the chanting goes and so on and so forth? Because it sounds kind of complicated.
It is. I think so. We have a small unit of people built off all of the little groups, and we try to organize the bigger logistics. For example, we have some big plans for the playoffs for the first game for the TIFO. We're working with the team to have access to warehouses to be able to build stuff. But I would say we split the tasks. The capo is there pre-game to organize the list of chants we're going to be doing, and then we share the workload as soon as the stadium is open for us. A big chunk of people will go in to start setting up everything, and honestly, it's really just teamwork and communicating. What we mainly do is post on our social media whenever we need helping hands, and everyone is welcome. So we've had people super excited to come back that they didn't know anybody. They just came to help for the first TIFO that we did when we came back, and they got to meet 20 people, and then I saw it with my own eyes. When they came to the game, they started saying hello to everybody. So it's really just about a teamwork and just if you're down, just come see us.
Yeah,
we're here to grow.
What's beautiful about having different people in the Collectif is that many people have different talents. So there's people that are more artistic than others, and those kind of talents we make things happen with it, and we're really happy that people want to contribute. And for example, like we said, for the first banner where we wrote Collectif Impact Montreal, we said to people, okay, we're going to be at this location. We have a kind of a small place to start to do the banner. So if you guys want to join in, you're more than welcome. And so far so good, I could say.
Awesome.
Yeah, I you know what, here on TBIR, the Bull is Round, we try to interact with our listeners, and we have one of our listeners that is asking you a question. It's Patrick White that asks, are there former ultras involved as well as the other groups, or do you see former ultras that joined the Collectif, or not really?
Well, of course there are ultras involved in the Collectif. We're probably going to talk a little bit more later in one of the questions, but as we know, we were many groups under the COP NTL. Basically, what pretty much changed is just the name, so we can make it more inclusive and pass the message that we want to have the people that want to be in the stadium, regardless of what happened in the past, and that have as one common goal, that is support the team and the guys on the field. You guys are welcome. And yes, there are former ultras with us. You guys have to remember that being an ultra, it's not attributed to one certain group. It's more of a movement. So yeah, they are ultras with us, and we have many member of the older groups that are still here. Yeah.
Of course.
I would like to add a little bit of what Ed said. I think it's important to specify between the ultra group that was in the stadium and what an ultra is, because I think, like he said, it's a more it's a bigger thing. An ultra, I think, is having the passion for the soccer, cheering for them. It's a way of life, and that same passion is still there. And someone who felt as if they were an ultra before everything that happened still has that right, and can still call themselves ultras. So our goal is not to say an ultra is bad and ultra is not bad. I think we're all ultras. So what happened was really there was a big energy towards the team that we wanted to come back, and like we've said since the beginning, we want to be welcoming. So it's not who you were or who you are. It's if you believe in the cause and you want to come and stand up and cheer for 90 minutes, whoever you are, you're welcome to come with us and live the game as an ultra.
Yeah, and Holy Gale says it's so great to see and hear the chants and cheers from that section of the stadium. So yeah, she's very happy to see you back, guys.
Yeah. So for those of you like we talked about a lot there already, it was a big part of returning to the stadium and getting Section 132 back as a supporter section was a big part of your mission. So can you describe at all any of the discussions with the club that led you to return and into Section 132?
Oh, you want to start, Chadi?
Okay, sure. I mean, the discussions, so they've been like on and off for like over a year. Some groups wanted to come, some groups didn't want to come, and it was just organizing the whole thing. But from the moment that we took the decision and we're like, okay, we have the core component to be able to advance this project and bring it forward, we were proactive. We took the steps. We messaged the club. We explained who we are, and there were familiar faces when we went to meet with the club. So it didn't feel like it was completely new. They understood who we are. They understood the situation, and they were very happy, and they were super understandable. We set the objectives that we had, and we were very clear with returning in that section, because that's where we believe that's our home. And they were super understanding with that, which was great for us.
Yeah. And in the past few months, I can say, the guys that were still at the table of negotiations with them, they established and they put some important conditions that we just kept talking about when we took the lead in the talks. For sure, well, like we said before, the section was one of the main things that we wanted back, and we gotta say that the approach that the club had and the way that things happened with Gabriel Gervais coming in, we felt that something can be made out of it, and something more positive. And for sure, the fact that the club is playing amazing football just kind of boosted all that motivation for us in the negotiations.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems like Gabriel Gervais has worked really, really hard to, I think, win back the hearts of a lot of supporters. And I know, I think it shows that he is a former player and how important he realizes that they are. But obviously, speaking of that, there are several supporter groups in the stadium, the groups that make up the Collectif. There's also 127 in Montreal, and there's also, of course, 1642 Montreal. So how is the Collectif's relationship with those other supporters groups so far?
Well,
go for it.
You want to go or I go? Well, actually,
Hey, go for it. Go for it, Ed.
With 127, we've always had some good, some good vibes, like we say. We actually in the last time we went for an away game, which was in Costa Rica, there was 127 guys with us. I can say that with the 1642. Regardless of the differences that we have between groups and the vision and the way that we see football and that we live it, what we keep in mind is that we want to make the stadium an amazing place to play and for the players also. And so we're working on it. I don't know if you guys saw, but we actually coordinated a chant last game.
And those arms, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's no way of saying okay it's a bad or it's a good relationship. We focus on what the main goal is, that is bringing an amazing atmosphere at Saputo Stadium.
Yep.
And I just want to say the Aux Armes is from Marseille, so of course amazing chant.
Honestly, God, you can't let it. You can't let them.
Hey man, best club in the world. I always say that, right? So. Go ahead, Shadi. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, don't worry. I would add, I think what's beautiful about Montreal is we have different supporter groups and that they can really have their own mission, they can have their own values, and they don't have to necessarily match exactly. I don't feel like our section and, for example, the other side live the game the same way. That doesn't mean we don't want collaboration. What we don't want and what we've been pushing for is a unison where they bring everybody together because I don't think that we're the same type of supporters. So our goal is to continue supporting the way we know how to do, but we are much more open to collaborate with other groups.
Cool.
That's interesting because that was our final question. Will you always be in section 132, or are you going to form the famous wall in 2023 with the 1642? Was that a part of the discussion with Gabriel Gervais and with the club, or like I'm pretty sure, like did you stand firm and say, you know what, no, we're staying in 132?
Yes. So we were really adamant with our section. That is our home. That's where we want to stay. We asked the questions to Montreal fans, and it's a pretty massive majority that don't want a wall, and I understand why. And I think we should have something beautiful. And the Aux Armes, for example, yesterday proved that if we can build this bigger atmosphere, I think we could definitely have something beautiful in Montreal. That doesn't mean that we don't want our section to become a wall. Our goal for the future is one, for the playoffs to fill up the whole section, and then we're ambitious and we want to grow from just 132 one day and really be welcoming enough to grow this supporter section so that it becomes scary to come and play here.
Yeah, no, exactly. Go ahead.
And it was really an important fact for us that we did. If we came back to the stadium, we don't go to the same section as other groups. It was talked even before the Collectif was born. There were still we were already talking about that in the former discussions, and we just kept saying and of course, we say why we don't want and everything to the club. And Gervais, I think, understood that well. And for now, from what we know, next season, we're still going to be in 132. And I think it's good because it gives the options to people that, let's say, because, I mean, yes, there are parts in the stadium where they're more intense, right? There's moments where there's more intense. We are open to family members. We're open to people that are more intense, but it gives the choice to people. And to be honest, our goalkeepers and the opposition also, they can feel the pressure or us cheering towards them. Either they're on the east side or west side of the stadium. So it's really a good thing.
Yeah, see, that's what I said. I am not pro wall, as a human, because theoretically,
Who is?
Well, somebody was once upon a time, evidently, because they kept it going for a long time, that running theory. But yeah, no, for me, I completely agree with you, Ed, that having the supporters groups behind each goalkeeper, and each attacking end is really interesting and really important, and it does make for some of those really magical moments, like you guys and 1642 pulled off last night. So really cool. And just go ahead.
It's very weird, by the way, because I when I was in Portugal, I went to a Benfica game, and I was behind a goal, and for me, it's normal. I'm going to be with supporters, and that's what I wanted. I wanted that vibe, right? And unfortunately, I was behind a goal, and there wasn't any supporters group at all. So I was there, and from the other side, you could see, the supporter groups, and just over like the section where I was, there was the other supporter, like the supporters
the
from the other
aways?
team, the aways. So I was like listening from the aways, the away club, and I was like, man, what am I doing here, right? So thankfully we'll not see that in Montreal.
No, I really like having the placement as it is, for sure. If in case any Montreal officials are listening to this. So anyway, just one last question, I guess, before we kind of wrap things up. If we may ask, about how many members are in Le Collectif right now, if you have a ballpark. Just curious.
I mean, so we're like exponentially growing every game.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy, and I would even say every halftime.
Wow.
We start the games with like the section, and so far every game, like the second half, we're overflowing, and it's cool because we see kids being involved. We're giving them flags. They're waving the flags. They're learning the chant. So I would say right now we don't have a number because we don't register anybody. I would say maybe, but our section so far has been the club has unlocked 166 seats, and they've been sold out every game since we're back.
Wow,
cool.
So and I mean, last game was sold out like 2 weeks before the game. So it's been pretty crazy. Even our members are having hard time getting tickets because they're going so fast. The good thing is for the playoffs, we're gonna have the whole section back.
Oh, nice! That's gonna be exciting. Good news! Good news!
That's epic.
And that's really exciting because that's what we've been trying to, prove ourselves to the club too. To be like, we're taking this seriously. We want to follow the rules. We want to do this right. Please give us more, and they've been, giving us as much as we've asked. We've been doing things, I think, the right way.
Yeah, and it's good because the demand is there, and I think that we're gonna see in playoffs that other than those 166 persons that were there, I'm pretty sure more people are gonna join up. And like I said, we're gonna be starting not registering members, but we're gonna have memberships during the off season, and I'm convinced that we're gonna have if not the same core or people that were there before, even more actually. Yeah.
Excellent. I certainly look forward to hearing all the voices out of 132 next season for sure. But just to wrap up, obviously, please let us know where folks who are interested in what Le Collectif is up to, whether it's match day preparations or what have you, where can they find you on social media?
On Facebook, Le Collectif Impact Montréal, or on Instagram, it's collectif.emfc. Those are the two places where we put all the information. Next week, we're going to have kind of like a crowdfunding for merch. So we're going to have shirts and scarves ready for the playoffs. So all that stuff you're going to be able to find on our social media. You can even shoot us a message, and someone from the team is going to be able to give you the information that you're looking for.
Right on. And I assume like your registration logistics and stuff like that, when you guys are ready to open them up, they'll appear on your social media as well.
Exactly. Everything, we're trying to be as transparent as possible,
Yep.
and we're trying to communicate with as much people. We don't want it to feel like it's an exclusive group. So everything is on our social. Whenever you need to talk to us, go check out our pages.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ed and Shadi, for joining us this evening and letting us
Thank you,
get to
guys.
know you. Take care, and really look forward to experiencing playoffs.
For sure. We're super excited.
Yes. Thank you for having us, guys.
Thanks for being here, guys. Really interesting. Thanks a lot, and good luck for the future.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
You
Bye,
too.
Guys.
Thanks. Bye. Oh my goodness. That was like, I loved like last night, that was something I didn't talk about during our review of the DC game, was the Ozarm that was coordinated between 1642 and section 132 with the Collectif, because it's so awesome when they are able to coordinate like that. So hopefully, they will be able to pull off more situations like that going forward, because I really enjoyed it.
It's interesting to see a new rebirth of a supporters group, because that's exactly what we're witnessing right now. It's a rebirth of that supporter group with a new brand, with a new way of thinking. In a way, yes, it's kind of the same, but a bit different, more inclusive, from what I can hear, and I think that's very exciting for anybody that's interested in joining a supporters group. And of course, the 1642 are doing an awesome job too. So like, I know 127, of course, but 127, I don't need to talk about them, because Eve,
I represent.
You're a part of the pod, and you are one, you represent them. But even the 1642, I have so many friends that are with the 1642 doing an awesome job. So yeah, it's nice to see support for that club, because that club right now, with the season they're having, they need all the support they can have, and they need those chance to really lift them to higher achievements, and hopefully it will happen. We'll see.
And I really like the both ends of the stadium. I can't emphasize that enough, in case anybody from CF Montreal listens to our podcast. I'm like, please don't mess with my stadium. But anyway, let's move on to national team action if you're ready, my good sir.
For sure I am. Can I put my theme that you don't like?
Yes.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So we wrapped
She hates
up.
Me right now, guys. Just
no,
letting you know.
It's okay. I'll get over it. You know what? I drank like a really nice calming tea before our podcast. I had a little departure from my usual beer. So
where's Sam when we need him, man?
I know,
where's
right?
Sam? He's the bumper between us.
Exactly. So anyway, Canada played, they played against what is, in my opinion, their strongest opposition in a really long time. Because although right now, Mexico is ranked 12th in the FIFA rankings, I'm just going to ignore Robbie.
Robbie, thank you, Robbie. He says, have to love the intros. Thanks a lot, Robbie. Thank you.
There you go. You got to fit. There you go. Mexico's 12th and Uruguay's 13th. But for me, like, the level of familiarity that, that Montreal has with Mexico, it kind of makes it less daunting of an opponent, because Canada plays Mexico pretty regularly, particularly in the last couple of years. So anyway, they were playing against 13th placed Uruguay, who was part of the first non-CONCACAF competition, including Qatar, that Canada had played since a closed-door friendly against Iceland back in 2020. So that just goes to show how long it's been.
Yeah.
So Canada, going into this match, they did change up their formation. Alistair Johnston moved into the right center back position of a back three, along with Stephen Vittorio and Kamal Miller. Richie Larrea started at right wing back, and Junior Hoylett dropped to the bench, and the remaining players carried over from the previous match. We had talked a lot about the 4-4-2 versus the 3-5-2. And so what did you make of this change in formation, Hady?
we talked about it last week when we talked about the Qatar game. For me, 4-4-2 all the way. Like, it's just doesn't work at this level. The 3-5-2, like with the players that we have. Like, unfortunately, I love Alistair Johnston. Okay, I really love him, but as a right center back against such strong opposition, some physical players that are playing there, I don't think it's the right choice, and playing with a 4-4-2, you get that backbone of Victoria and Miller. You get this Johnston that can play very good defensively, will also give a lot of push offensively on the right side, and Sam Adekugbe that brings his oomph offensively, and for me, I just don't understand what John Herdman tried to do. But you know what? It's friendlies, right? You're here to try stuff, and it's time to try stuff. And I think that in a way, that loss is a good thing for Canada. And I'll develop a bit, my thinking a bit later for sure. But I don't understand the 3-5-2.
Yeah, well, it clearly didn't work very well for Canada to start the match, to say the least. Uruguay got on the score sheet pretty early because Kamal Miller went to ground with a tackle and conceded a free kick just outside of the 18-yard box, and Nicolas de la Cruz scored from the ensuing free kick directly. It was a really well taken free kick, straight up. Maybe you can argue
he's a good player, very good player.
Yes. So anyway, that was what it was. So obviously Canada was under the gun from pretty much the outset, and it was obvious that there was definitely a gulf in class between the two teams. Let's just be honest, right?
Yeah, there is.
So I thought you were going to say something. I wasn't sure.
No, we talked about it last week. Yeah. Like we knew they're it's Uruguay. Yeah. Like they live soccer, right?
Exactly. It's like a religion. Yeah. So anyway, then they went on to double their lead when Darwin Nunez found himself completely unmarked by the right center back Alistair Johnston to score a header from a Luis Suarez cross in the 34th minute. And I can see Patrick has left a comment saying they played. I think we clicked on it at the same time. Sorry.
Go ahead, Eve.
Okay, I'm gonna click. They played for the clean sheet in the second half. I would certainly be inclined to agree myself. Canada did have a lot more of the ball in the second half, and they did have their fair share of chances in the second half to potentially at least score a consolation goal, if nothing. But unfortunately, their finishing was just as off as Montreal's was last night. They could not finish a shot to save their lives. And also, we did see some criticism that Alphonso Davies was perhaps trying to do a little too much in the match. Go ahead.
No, okay. Completely.
No, okay.
And every time we have stronger positions, sometimes Davies, tries to keep the ball a bit more. Yeah. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. This time it didn't work. Like when you think about it also, I think that's something that, nobody really talked about, but the coach of Uruguay is Diego Alonso, former Inter Miami coach.
Oh my God.
So he
knows
about
failing
MLS.
Up.
Yeah. He knows MLS. He knows those players. Right. So, it's something that, we didn't have that element of surprise during that game. And that's, I think, played also a part. And, Patrick saying that they played for the clean sheet in the second half. Again, it's friendlies. Coaches are going to try stuff. Uruguay is preparing for the World Cup. So playing for the clean sheet in the second half is very important because they know that at one point they're going to play a strong opposition that's going to have the ball. So they need to train and to get into match into match mode, feeling, the lesser team. And I think that's a way of reproducing those kinds of moments that will happen in Qatar, right? So I don't really read too much in friendlies because it's just coaches trying stuff, and that's exactly what they're doing. So I didn't read much in the game against Qatar, and I'm not reading much in the game against Uruguay, in my opinion.
Well, I'm gonna ask if you're gonna read something into this.
Yeah.
Obviously John Herdman was gonna have to go to his bench in the second half, because, well, like you said, it's a friendly and coaches are trying stuff. And we saw Ismail Kone come on quite early as a sub in the first match versus Qatar, and once again he came on in the 55th minute to replace Samuel Piet. Seeing Ismail Kone, who is relatively inexperienced in this team, be brought into playing action in both friendly matches leading up to the final squad being called. What do you think this bodes as far as his chances to be on that plane to Qatar?
That's very interesting. That's very interesting, and that.
Are you willing to read? You're reading, are you?
No. Am I? Yeah, maybe. It's just when you think about it, like without reading too much in it, okay? Look at the profile of players that you have in the midfield. The only two players for Canada that can play that role of being the box-to-box midfielder, the modern box-to-box midfielder that really can push up and create, add, an extra pressure on the opposing defense are Atiba Hutchinson and Scott Arfield. We all know that Scott Arfield is not here anymore. And Atiba,
unfortunately, he may not be fit for the World Cup.
Exactly. And even if he's fit, he's not going to be able to play all the games, right?
No.
So you need that profile of players in the squad. So I think that Ismail Kone's chances are pretty good. So hopefully he'll continue on impressing John Herdman, and for that he needs to play with CF Montreal, get good games during playoffs. Hopefully we'll see more of Ismail Kone.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Joel Waterman, we talked about it. We kind of figured it wasn't likely, but sure enough, he did not play in this match either. So unfortunately for him, probably not as productive a window as Ismail Kone, but still undoubtedly a really good experience. Hopefully.
Yeah, a good experience, and you never know if you have an injury or you have someone that's not available. Maybe he'll be there. Don't forget that it's a squad of 26 players that is going to the World Cup. So possibly he maybe be the 26th player. So we'll see also. And don't forget that for that 5th or 6th defender in the squad, you need someone that's really
versatile,
but gels well also. In the dressing room. So sometimes maybe he's not going to play even a minute, but if he's a good influence in the dressing room, John Herdman will bring him. So there is still a possibility. I think it's very slim, but there is still a possibility that we'll see Joel Waterman with Canada in Qatar.
Yeah, we'll see for sure. I'm definitely going to be kind of on the edge of my seat for that squad to be released.
Oh yeah, well we all are. I think it's funny. I was talking to one of my friends today, and I was like, you know what? It's been a while that I haven't been this excited for a World Cup. I know, everybody talks about Qatar and the whole problems that you have around, the country that's organizing the World Cup with the corruption and the human. The human values that are being baffled, unfortunately. So, there is all that. But, on the pitch, I think this World Cup is very exciting for me just because, Canada is there, first of all. But also, there's no clear favorite. And it's been a while that we've seen that. Every World Cup in the past, we've seen a clear favorite. And this time, you don't have a clear favorite. You have so many teams that could lift the trophy at the end, and I think it's very exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think it's going to make for some really interesting TBIR episodes for sure.
Yeah. Maybe a new intro.
Oh my god, like a temporary intro of some kind.
Yeah, exactly. An intro for a new segment, like the World Cup segment or whatever it is.
Oh god, almighty.
That'd be interesting.
Oh my god, I would say don't give him ideas, people, but how do you give himself the ideas?
I'm creative, Eve. I'm creative.
You're something. Okay. Anyway, anything else you want to comment on for this window before we talk about the women's national team?
No, I like this window. I think that John Herdman was able to try a few things, and that's very encouraging.
Yeah.
I hope that he got the answers he was looking for, because next time he has a friendly game, he'll have the final squad that will go to to the World Cup. So
exactly. Yeah.
so it's
And
going to be interesting.
And I'm just super happy we finally played some teams outside of the federation because I think that was really important for Canada to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's move on to the women's national team, and we should have a graphic of the roster that dropped earlier this past week. So it is on our screen, but I'll read it out in case anyone's listening really quickly. So we have called up for the 2 upcoming friendlies. We have Sabrina D'Angelo, Luciane Proulx, Kaylin Sheridan as goalkeepers. For defenders, we have Kadisha Buchanan, Alicia Chapman, Ashley Lawrence, Jade Rose, Bianca Saint-Georges, Surya Yeka, Shalina Zadorsky. In midfield, we have Simi Awujo, Zoe Burns, Jessie Fleming, Julia Grosso, Quinn, Sophie Schmidt, and Desiree Scott. And for forwards, we have Janine Becky, Jordan Heidema, Chloe Lacasse, Clarissa Larissy, Adriana Leon, Nichelle Prince, Christine Sinclair, and Eveline Vienne rounding out the squad.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. It's interesting, Eve, because all the players that we wanted Bev Priestman to call were called. You know, I see Clarissa Larissy, I see Eveline Vienne that is here.
I see Jade Rose.
Jade Rose is here also. You know, I think it's the strongest squad available right now, in my opinion.
Like not including players, because just to be clear for anybody who isn't kind of aware, Gabrielle Carl, Vanessa Gilles, Diane Rose, and Jade Riviere are all injured right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just to be and as well, Ashley Lawrence is back after missing out on last window. So she's back, which I think is big at the fullback position. So no, I'm really interested by this squad. Is there anybody who you're disappointed not to see? Just out of curiosity.
No, I think Bev Priestman listens to the ball is round. Like honestly, I think that all the players that we wanted called up are called up. Like I don't see anybody that should be here and is not here. You know, I'm very excited to see again Bianca Saint-Georges, that I really love.
Although she got herself into some hot water there last weekend.
Yes, I know, with the fingers. I know. A lot of people are talking about Simi Awujo. I don't know the player, so I'm kind of very interested in seeing her play.
No, you should be, because she was one of the bright spots during the U20 World Cup. And you know, she only made a brief cameo there in the Australia friendlies. So it's not a ton to judge on, but nonetheless, I think the fact that she's been called up two successive windows leads me to believe that Priestman sees something in her for sure.
And when you think about it, you know, you look at that midfield right now, okay? You have Schmidt and Scott, the veterans, you know, the older players. You have Quinn, Fleming, Grosso, that are, you know, the called up players, that have been called up for a long time.
In their prime right now.
Exactly. And then, you know, the experience, but also young players, but still experience. And then you have the 2 newbies with Zoe Burns and Simi Awujo. And I think that's the kind of melting pot that you want to have in a squad. You know, you need experience, youth, and you know, players that are a lock. So for me, the players that are a lock are Quinn, Grosso, and Fleming. So so that's very interesting. Same thing in defense. If you see in defense, you have, you know, Jade Rose, Surya Yeka, Bianca Saint-Georges, that are the young players. You have Lawrence, Chapman, Buchanan, Zadorsky, that are really, you know, the backbone of that defense. You have the same the forwards. It's exactly the same. You have Sinclair, Nichelle Prince, Adriana Leon, that you have even Jordan Heidema, and Janine.
I mean, Jordan Heidema has been getting called up for a dog's age, even though she is very young.
Exactly. So it's really nice, you know, to see that. And of course, Vivian scoring her 20th goal this weekend. 20th goal this weekend. It's really exciting. And also Sarah Statugakis also playing in Sweden, also scoring a goal. So, you know, Sweden and Canada.
Yeah. I gotta say, the Canadian players who you know, are playing over there seem to be doing really, really well, and seem to, you know, Sabrina D'Angelo, when she plays, definitely seeing her name come up a lot with clean sheets and stuff. So interesting. I wish Sweden had better time zones. But nonetheless, no. But I'm really interested to see what Bev Priestman does with these two friendlies, because it's Argentina and Morocco, just in case anybody forgot. And they're going to be playing in Spain. So for the Europe-based players, it shouldn't be too taxing as far as travel goes, which is nice. So no, I'm really interested to see what Bev Priestman tries as far as bringing in some of those young players and hopefully giving them a lot of minutes. If I'm being honest, I would like to see quite a few minutes being given to the Jade Roses and the Simia Wujos and the Clarissa Laracies of the team.
Yeah, same. You need to give them a chance to see if they can be, sure thing for Canada, going forward. You need to give them a few minutes. If not now, when? It's the time right now to do that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting also to see the oppositions, because Argentina and Morocco, we talked about it last week. But still, I want to add one thing also. It's not really very good teams. Like, it's not the top tier teams. But
they're up and coming.
Exactly. It's very interesting teams. And so you can try stuff. So you can try stuff tactically. You can try stuff. But you're going to have a good opposition to try it against. And that's really nice.
Yeah, no. So I'm really interested to see how these play out. I look forward to watching them, and thankfully they are a little bit more accessible time-wise for me than the men's matches were. So thank goodness for that.
At 1 on the 6th of October, so Thursday at 1 p.m.
Yep.
And the Monday 10th of October at 10:30 a.m. So
and that's a holiday for most folks. Therefore, I like it. It's accessible. So anyway, and I finally, last but not least, I'm definitely really curious to see how much playing time Evelyn Vienne gets, because she did get called up previously, but then kind of got dropped from the final squad. So really curious to see how that plays out this time around, because she's in scorching form.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she's going to have a few minutes. I don't think she's going to be a starter, but she's going to have a few minutes. And I'm happy that Bev Priestman changed her mind because Evelyn Vienne has been in tremendous form, and we talked about it. So, there's a saying in French that says that only stupid people don't change their mind. And, that's exactly what we didn't want to see. And, Bev Priestman is not stupid. So pretty good.
We'll see now if she listens. I'm sure she's just full of warm and fuzzy feelings after that.
Well, it's just a saying.
I know. I'm just poking fun at you. Alrighty, so that wraps up part 1 for us, which means I think I get to take a little break. And
you're gonna take a break, and we're gonna do the intro for social media. That's gonna start in a few seconds. So let's start with social media. So social media, first tweet that I got, it's from the real Mart, Miracle Mart, that said, it's happening. Looking at the stadium. He's someone that's very positive most of the time. So I think he's rooting for Montreal to get first in the East. We talked about it a bit, but you know what? I'm going to ask you just a question very, very simply, Eve. Is it going to happen or not?
No, I really don't think so. Maybe to be honest, I would have expected Philly to beat Charlotte. And so, things can happen, obviously, but the Toronto defense is just so freaking bad. Even if Montreal does get a win, I can't imagine it going that badly.
Okay, all the listeners here, who's surprised by Eve's answer?
Shut up.
I don't think anybody is surprised. You know what? I want to be positive. You know what? We're going to do it. I don't care. We're going to do it. Philadelphia is going to do a 1-1 against Toronto, and we're going to win in Miami, and we're going to be first, and we're going to be very happy. So we'll see. It's not a prediction, guys. It's just me trying to even.
It's just being a wish.
To even Eve pessimism. That's all.
Oh my God.
Let's move on to the second tweet. It's from Yves Laurent. Why isn't everyone complaining about TSN technical problems all game long during CF Montreal's game? If it had been one soccer, Twitter would be on fire right now. You know what? I think that One Soccer doesn't get much love, and I don't like that, because they're doing what they can. They're doing an amazing job. They're giving visibility to a league that's looking for visibility, which is the Canadian Premier League. They're giving us great coverage of the Canadian national teams altogether that we haven't seen before, in my lifetime. All the friendly games, everything is there. And you know what? All I see is people complaining about One Soccer. I'm not talking about, TSN having difficulties, because that's not important in the tweet. I just want to give some love to One Soccer.
I have certain problems with One Soccer that aren't necessarily related to their technical difficulties. Some philosophical issues, I guess, for one of a polite way to put it. But overall, I mean, and well, at the end of the day, we know from some of the reporting that's gone on this year that we've got them now for like 10 years. For the Canadian national team, at least. So they're here to stay. They showed up to take the rights when no one else would. At the end of the day, for a lot of the soccer content that they broadcast. So they are the only reason we're able to watch on TV, before the hype train caught on for the rest of the networks, is because of them.
Yeah, exactly. And, I don't think that anybody would have broadcasted, the friendly games of the Canadian, the women's team either. So, nobody's running to get those broadcasting rights, even right now, even if they're Olympic champions. And that's, for me, very weird. And you know what? One Soccer is here. And I'm very happy to be a subscriber. Yes, of course, they're not perfect. And yes, she talked about the philosophical differences that we have with them. But you know what? At least they're here. They're helping us, live our passion. So props to that.
And it's not super expensive.
Exactly. That's. So move on to the third tweet from Alex Goldapel. Cannot believe we have to cheer for TFC next weekend. Go Reds!
No, I think even with if somebody were threatening my life, I don't think I could. And I don't mean to make light of that, but for real, if I ever start doing that, you need to call 911, because it's me trying to signal I've been kidnapped.
Good. Okay, so guys, when Eve's kidnapped, so everybody knows the trick now.
Yeah, I'm in distress if ever I start cheering for TFC.
I agree. Same for me, but you know what? I just hope that they'll get a draw. I'm rooting for the draw. I'm okay rooting for the draw. But nice tweet from Alex.
Sure. Yeah.
Next tweet is from Nathan Durek. Kane is making waves in Europe once again. It's Fabrizio Romano talking about you. It's legit. So Fabrizio Romano on the 27th of September, so only 5 days ago, saying he's expected to make European move after inches away of joining Sheffield United on deadline day this summer. Eve, are you still on the hype of Ismail Kone, being transferred to Europe? Do you think it's really gonna happen in January?
Yeah, I mean, even the Sheffield United coach came right out and said it, after the deal fell through, that they were gonna keep him on the list and probably, make a second try for January. And certainly, given that it wouldn't be deadline day, theoretically, when they're trying to make said deal the second time around. And I'm quite certain that if one team is committed to coming out and saying they're continuing to keep eyes on the player and will consider trying to negotiate another deal, if they're going as far as saying it out loud, then I'm quite confident there's other teams behind the scenes also preparing some paperwork.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. And you know what? I think that him going to the World Cup could be a very good affair for CF Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
Because, value is going to increase quite a bit, and it's going to be even more interesting. And you know what? It's going to be nice. If it does happen, it's going to be nice to see a bit of CF Montreal, England or somewhere else. So
Yeah.
we already have Georgie going to the Netherlands. So it's
Yep.
nice to see CF Montreal, getting that recognition elsewhere by player coming and watching those players and trying to bid for those players. I think that's pretty nice. So
Agree.
great. And last but not least, and it's again one soccer. So Goal Valor Football level things up against Cavalry as Sean Rea gets his record-breaking 9th assist of the season with a beautiful ball for Billy Forbes to head home. I just want to show you that goal because the quality of Sean Rea on this play is unbelievable. So let's watch this.
One more, 2-0 down. That is a very tough mountain to climb on the road.
Yeah, it's not ideal. They're going to want to try and create some chances here.
Brett Levi's into the penalty area. Headed away, and Escalante forced to just give it back. Fordyce, and here's Rea, another ball into the penalty area. Oh! And it's Billy Forbes in the 48th minute. Fowler has life, and that playoff push is very much alive. Sean Rea, the vision, another assist, and Billy Forbes on the finish.
That's a great delivery into the box and a great header. Forbes finds himself just outside the club, gets his head on the ball, makes.
What a great ball from Sean Rea.
Yeah.
That chipped ball is so good. It's so difficult
Yeah.
to do that play. And you know what? It's interesting. 9th assist of the season.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that Sean Rea would be that good this year?
No, he's definitely, I think he's grown a lot compared to last season. And probably, I don't know if it helps that he went on loan to the same team twice. So there's a level of consistency there. Unfortunately, Valor did go on to lose that match, sadly. But he's had a really good, I think, individual season. He scored some really nice goals. And to me, his assists actually are kind of better than the goals that he scored.
So we have 2 questions regarding Sean Rea for you, Eve. So first is Robbie, will he be with Montreal next year? And the second one, could he one day become that number 10 Canada is looking for? So Robbie and Patrick asking those 2 questions. What do you think, Eve?
As far as being with Montreal, I certainly don't think he's gonna just pick up where Georgi Mihailovic left off by any stretch of the imagination. Georgi Mihailovic is, obviously not only a more developed player, but just,
of course,
he is just a level above, most MLS players. But I absolutely think that Sean Rea deserves a legitimate chance to make the squad in training camp in preseason. I think he very much deserves to have Wilfred Nancy take a serious look at him. Because for me, if Matko Miljevic, is given a spot on the bench, then I don't know why Sean Rea wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And as far as becoming the number 10 that Canada is looking for, we did see him with the U20 World Cup, U20 World Cup. And he did have some interesting moments during that. We learned later on that apparently the purpose of that cup was not to win. It was to experiment. And I will have my philosophical differences about that as well, but nonetheless. I don't want to commit to it, but certainly he could be quite talented. Jonathan Osorio is coming up on 30 years old. So, there will need to be somebody, there will be kind of an opening maybe for that position. If he continues to get youth call-ups, and perhaps he could segue that into a senior call-up between the 2 World Cups.
Yeah, you know what? I don't want to jump. I don't want to jump to conclusions so early. I think that he needs, first of all, to get minutes in Montreal before we think about even him being called up by Canada. So I think it's too difficult to really predict if he's going to be the number 10 for Canada. But I think he's going to be with Montreal next year. I'm pretty sure he's going to be with Montreal next year. Hopefully he'll get minutes with Montreal, and that's something that I'm always afraid of because, if you keep him in Montreal, I want to see him on the pitch. I'm not asking for him to play, 40 games. I'm just asking for him to play 8 to 10 games. And if he does well, maybe more, but at least 8 to 10 games. Like a bit like we've seen. I would say, we can't really say anybody. Ismail Kone, I think, was supposed to get 8 to 10 games. He got a lot more. Rida Zaki was supposed to have 8 to 10 games. He got a bit.
He got less. Yeah.
So I think it's somewhere in between the two. And I hope we'll see that, but pretty sure we will. Wilfried Nasi likes to play the young player, and that's why I love him. Right, play the youth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it for me and for social media. So I hope you guys had fun. Keep on tweeting. We love seeing your tweets, and hopefully we'll see a lot more interesting tweets in the coming week.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so that wraps everything up for us. As always, thank you so much for tuning in and for sending your thoughts and your questions and your comments. And we'll come back together next Sunday evening during a most enjoyable long weekend to find out who Montreal's playoff opponent is going to be, plus take a look at the women's friendly match that took place. So look forward to talking soccer with all of you then. Until then, take care and have a great week.